The Pistons make the playoffs for the first time since 2018-19. Last head coach that coached that team was Dwayne Casey. So, Corey, I want to ask you, kind of 30,000-foot view. I know you got to cover the team, and then you kind of got off the beat, and now you're back to covering it. Did you feel that this team was an actual playoff team, not a play-in team?
No. I thought that this was and I'm not going to have any revisionist history. I think I said this team was going to run close to around 27-ish games, and I was saying if they stayed as is, I thought that if everything went right, they could be a team that could compete for a play-in. If everything went right, they could be one of those, 10, 9 seeds. But to see them become the first team, they're not the first team in NBA history to triple their, win count. They're the first team in NBA history to triple their win count and make it a winning record. And to see them do that, I mean, you go from 14 games to 40 plus in one season. That is a remarkable turnaround. I mean, obviously they added some savvy veterans in the offseason. They got Tim Hardaway in a trade, Tim Hardaway Jr. in a trade. Got Tobias Harris, a move that everybody was kind of, rumoring linking since last year's trade deadline. You bring in Malik Beasley on, I thought was a steal of a deal. And then the sneaky addition at the trade deadline of adding Dennis Schroeder, I mean, that was the quality vets they needed. Because I believe it was Cade said it last year after they when they were like 2-26, he's like, we are not this bad. And I didn't believe they were. They just needed the proper coaching and the proper vets around them. So, to kind of, get back to it, did I think they were going to be a playoff team? No, I thought play in, but you got to give credit to Trajan Langdon for he came in, he did what he said he was going to do, surrounded this group with 7 young vets, and you got a coach that, hey, in his introductory press conference, J.B. Bickerstaff said, come March, you will see this team and you will say, that's Detroit Pistons basketball. They just locked in their first top 6 seed since 2008. Everybody a part of this regime has done their job. And the last person I want to give credit to for this turnaround is you got to give credit to Tom Gores. Whether you love him or whether you hate him, he paid Monty Williams $78 million to coach this team and $65 million to fire him. Now, whether you wanted Monty Williams initially as the head coach or not, that's neither here nor there. I don't think anybody saw Monty Williams being hired to coach this team and said, hey, they're going to go 14-68 and also set the end of the single season losing streak record. Nobody could have predicted that. But the fact that Tom Gore said that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and eat this and we're going to restart it over and then we're going to do it right this time. Then by all accounts, they're doing things right. Got to give him some credit as well.
Yeah, you really do. I think the conversations I had with you, like very early on in the season, was I thought this team was going to be between 27 and 33 wins. Like that was kind of like where I was at. And I was just like, the plan should be the goal. Like if you have one goal for the season, like if you can kind of flirt within the plan, then that's a successful season. But what I will say from a month-to-month basis, what I've seen from this team is so much drastic improvement that you don't usually see in a calendar year. You just don't. Like from October to like March, they look like a completely different basketball team. And I think you have to give credit to not only JB Bickerstaff and his coaching staff, but you have to give credit to the vets on this team, like a Tobias Harris, like a Malik Beasley, like a Tim Hardaway Jr. I know you touched on Dennis Schroeder, who I honestly think was the perfect fit for this team, and you basically got him for free, because you just got involved in the Jimmy Butler trade, and he had to go somewhere. Honestly, it's crazy. I didn't see playoffs on the goal. I know there were some people that said playoffs, and the fact that you saw that, that's awesome. And I'll give you guys
Yeah,
that credit that are watching live on
absolutely.
YouTube, or maybe
Yeah,
you're
gotta give them their respect. Yeah.
audio listener later, but like I'm shocked, man. Like, because they have a chance to get to 45 wins, and they haven't done that since the going to work Pistons, and that was a long time ago.
And also too, I think another reason why I did not see them making the playoffs is the lack of continuity in the coaching staff. I mean, a lot of these guys are on their third head coach in their third season.
Hmm.
Like, we've been talking about the maturity and the maturation of Jalen Duren. He's had a new head coach each year of his time in the league, a different big man coach. Same thing with Jaden Ivey. He went from Dwayne to the situation with Monty. Now he has a coach that has restored his confidence in JB Bickerstaff. It's like, that's not normal to have that type of turnover in your first couple of years in the league. So, it's you got to give the guys, the people out there, credit who believe that, hey, this could be a playoff team. And again, if you look at the talent they have, I mean, if Cade Cunningham is healthy, he's a top 10 NBA player, not number 67, wink wink. If you look at Jalen Duren, he can be, I don't want to say one of the best centers in the league, but I believe that he can grow to be a very good, low post defender. Asar Thompson, God help the NBA if his jump shot comes together. I mean, we're looking at
Yeah.
something pretty scary there. Jaden Ivey, let's hope he comes back healthy. Um, Isaiah Stewart in a role where he wants to be and he can thrive. I mean, look at him. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get cut shy of making these all defensive teams because of his minutes, but hopefully that's not the case because he's been one of the best low post defenders this entire season. And then to your point with the savvy veterans, it's not just the fact that they've added veterans who have went other places and they know how to win and what it takes to win. They've added veterans that are comfortable playing their role, whether it's as a starter or as a reserve, and helping the young core win and find their footing. Malik Beasley, that was his goal from day one. He said that when he first started talking to reporters. Tim Hardaway has said it. Tobias has said it. Dennis, he said it when he said it a couple of weeks ago after the game. I can't remember which one it was, but he was talking to Natalie Kerwin, and he said it as well. So, I mean, I believe it was the game when they officially tripled their win total. So it's been the perfect storm.
It really has. I do want to give this guy credit because he did draft the guys. I think a lot of people give Troy Weaver a lot of shit for his free agency and his trades, but he did lay the foundation down.
Yeah.
He did draft Cade, which I know a lot of people say, well, Cade was a home run pick. Well, they didn't know until the day of who they were drafting. There were conversations about Evan Mobley, like from like what I was told from family members of Troy Weaver. They weren't sure, right? You got Ivy with the 5th pick, which a lot of people love Ivy. I think he's going to be a really good player. Be interested to see if he can or cannot come back. With the playoffs, JB kind of had some, reporters asked them yesterday. I listened to it. I was like, that's interesting. Then you have Asar, and then Trajan drafted Ron. But if I'm being honest, like Ron Holland is a Troy Weaver guy. Like if Troy was still here, he probably would have drafted Ron Holland. If we're being honest, like you got Marcus Sasser, and I think he kind of laid the foundation of a core. Now, obviously, Trajan had the foresight to go get a Tim Hardaway Jr., sign a Malik Beasley and a Tobias Harris, make the trades. And I think some people kind of just think that Trajan built this whole team and this whole roster when he just got here. He had a really good free agency and a pretty solid draft of drafting Ron and Bobby Klippman, who we haven't really seen too much yet. But, overall, I think the turnaround with this team, I see so many, national heads talk about it that they're so surprised. Like, I thought last year they lost so many games that just went down to the third, fourth quarter and they couldn't close them out. Like, I thought easily they could have had 25 wins last year. There were these games where
Absolutely.
they didn't have the veterans out there to help them close games. Like no shot at a Bojan Bogdanovic or an Alec Burks. They just weren't veterans to me that really impacted winning. They were there to get their points and go home, and that's it. They weren't willing to spend time with these young guys and help them develop as players and good role models off the court, in my opinion.
Yeah, and another thing with Troy Weaver, I mean, yeah, you got to give him credit for the guys that he did draft. But at the same time, I believe what really gets at Pistons fans is that you didn't do enough to surround this young core with veterans that could contribute. You mostly traded for or signed veterans that were reclamation projects or on their last legs, kind of out the window. Like, regardless of what people think about Tobias Harris was still a high level starter with the 76ers. Malik Beasley was a high level starter with the Bucks. Tim Hardaway Jr. He's coming off a deep playoff run finals. Dennis, when they called him, everywhere he's been one of the guys that's either started or helped steady the ship. So I believe that if Troy would have surrounded this nucleus with those type of players, he probably might still be here, but he would have been more revered in the fans of Pistons, in the eyes of Pistons fans. But when you have guys like, no disrespect to them, but when you surround them around guys like, Jahlil Okafor, I'm trying to go get Nerlens Noel. Bagley was a good idea. I thought that Bagley should have gotten more time before they moved him, but that's neither here nor there. It's just some of the guys that they surrounded this young nucleus with. I don't think that they were the ones that they were veterans, but they were not veterans that could teach this young group how to win. And that was the problem. The guys that they have right now have all seen deep playoff runs in their time in the league, and that's the difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Kind of just to wrap up this segment, I was very surprised that they were able to make the playoffs this year, but I really thought the turnaround with this team was the calendar year in January and February. Like those 2 months to me, like when I look back and reflect on this season, I thought having a strong January and a strong February. And a lot of people looked at the schedule. They're like, man, like I don't know if we can kind of keep this top 6 seed, but they really did themselves a favor by just playing hard, not quitting, and just competing for a full 48. And I mean, you got to tip your cap to JB and everyone that has just like really instilled them and given them confidence. And Cade Cunningham playing like a top 10 player, in my opinion, right now in the NBA has helped a lot.
And I know you were trying to close this out, but I want to add this one last thing. The biggest thing that I've been calling for the past couple of years since they got Cade was the one thing that the one thing that Trajan Langdon did. You surrounded this man with snipers. You were not really going to see you were not going to see Cade Cunningham's game fully come together until the Pistons had some type of real spacing. For him to be able to have guys like Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley that when they get hot, they get hot. He needed guys that can knock down an open three.
Mm-hmm.
That really brought everything together for everybody. So like I said, I know you're closing that out, but that part was really key. This is probably the best spacing that Cade has had to work with since entering the league.
Yeah, I mean, last year's spacing was like 1980s spacing. Like, if I'm being like honest, like it was really bad, and he still averaged 23 and 7.5 assists somehow.
So yeah,